Bills, the ones that arrive every single month. How do you lower those bills?
You fork over money, hard-earned money, every 30 days to pay bills. This can range from anything from your utilities, your cell phone, your cable bill,
Your gas and electric, lots of bills that actually arrive on schedule about every 28 to 30 days. Now, there are actually some ways that you can lower those expenses, and that's what we'll talk about in this video. But in case you don't know us,
I'm Larry.
and I'm Hope.
And we're from Under the Median, where every week we bring you videos on practical frugality.
Now, the most important thing that we're going to show you in this video is how to lower those monthly expenses without actually spending hours on the phone with customer service or jumping through a whole bunch of hoops.
The first thing you need to do is identify which of the bills are flexible and which are fixed. Now, the flexible bills you can work with.
Flexible bills in general are ones which are based on your usage. So in other words, the less of that service or that product that you use, the lower your bill is going to be. Whereas bills that are fixed are generally about the same amount every single month. Now, why does this matter? It matters a little bit because the way that you actually lower those bills varies from whether it's fixed to whether it's variable.
But don't worry, whether the bill is flexible or fixed, we're going to give you some ideas on how to lower these bills.
Let's start with bills that are fixed. These are bills that you have signed a contract saying that you will pay the same basic amount every single month. But there are actually some really viable ways that you can lower those bills.
Read the terms of your contract and look for this information. Are you locked in for a specified amount of time, or is there some wiggle room in it?
And if you do decide to change or that contract or drop that contract, will you pay a penalty if you do that before you have paid for a certain number of months?
Are you using all the perks that come with that plan?
It's amazing to us, like how many times you sign up for something, you get used to that bill just coming in the mail every single month. And you don't even realize what you've signed up for and what the advantages are to actually having that program or that service in your life. So go ahead and take a look and say, am I actually using everything that is involved in this service? You might find that you're like, oh, I didn't even realize that I could do that or that I could use that perk, and go ahead and start using that. But you may find out that there's an awful lot of stuff you're paying for that not only do you not use, but you probably never will use.
And not only that, are you really using the service that you've signed up for? You know, I know a lot of people that are on cable and they're not really using it. They're using Netflix, they're using like YouTube, they're using Tubi, they're using other things, and they're really not watching too much of what they signed up for and what they're paying for. If that's the case, drop it. Why keep it on if you're not using it?
So you might find that it's actually time to say goodbye, Netflix. Goodbye, Disney Plus.
And hello, Tubi TV. So if you decide to keep the service that you're signed up for, ask to see if there's a lower priced subscription for that service. Companies usually don't advertise that fact. You have to ask for it.
Now, when you call in to talk to customer service agent, be sure that you are polite. We always find it's a great idea to ask for their name. Sometimes agents aren't allowed to give their names, but they do have a specific number that is associated with who they are. It's like a customer service agent number. Get one of those two pieces of information and jot it down while you're talking to them. Also, jot down the date and the time of day that you talk to that agent.
Also, you might want to take some notes on exactly what was discussed in case somebody else calls you back. You can say that agent so-and-so told you thus and thus, and then you'll have good, clear communication and a good record of the conversation.
And make sure that the person you're talking to on the phone actually has the authority to lower your bill or to change you to a different plan. They may not have that authority. If they don't, just ask politely to talk to someone who does have that authority. And finally, if you do reach an agreement, make sure that you ask to have them send it to you in writing.
consider paying your bill less often. You know, a lot of companies like you to pay every month, but they may allow you to pay every 6 months or maybe annually. And I know that's a chunk of change to have to pull out of your bank account, but in the long run, it might cost you less to do that. There'll be less service charges on it. Check with your company, whoever it is that you're paying the bill, and see if they offer a plan that's less expensive if you pay it in larger increments.
Larry mentioned kind of a customer service fee. What happens is companies, when you actually apply your payment monthly, they will charge you something called a convenience fee. It's like an office fee for them doing the work for you once a month instead of annually or biannually. That fee can actually range somewhere between $5 and $8, which when you consider that over the course of 12 months, it really starts to add up. We actually did this a while back. We were paying one of our insurance payments quarterly, and we finally called them and said, is there no way that we can pay this once a year? And they said, well, of course you can. It lowered our bill by 5%.
You might, too, go with paperless billing. Some companies charge quite a bit more to send that bill out in the mail. If you can go paperless, and also the other thing you can do is if your credit union or your bank account has a payment plan set up whereby they will automatically pay it for you, that's cheaper, too. It saves you some stamps, and it saves you having to track that payment all the time.
Online banking or automated payment they're also a great idea.
4 weeks before your contract date, you'll want to call your provider and see if there isn't a cheaper plan. Maybe they'll give you a discount. They might have a special going on. They want to keep you as a customer. So some of them will go to some great lengths to keep you and allow you to have a little less charges on that.
I have a friend that does this annually with her cable bill. She just makes a notation on her calendar and calls about 4 weeks before that next bill is due. And she told me, she said, I just keep rephrasing it. Is there a way I can lower my bill? Is there a cheaper plan available? Just keep repeating phrases like that a different way and see if you can't get them to lower it. And she said she has never, ever had them not lower it to a plan that she was willing to pay.
Shop around for a lower priced plan. There's nothing more powerful than being able to call like your cell phone company and say, hey, I can get this same plan through another provider for this much less. What can you do for me? Because they really don't want you to jump ship.
Walking away and walking to another provider is probably the most powerful tool that you have on your side. A great example of something you may want to look at is your cell phone bill. We recently did this when we switched to Mint Mobile, who is our partner for this video. I'm the one in this family who will plead guilty to paying too much for my cell phone bill. For 4 years, I paid $45 a month, and then I switched to Mint Mobile.
You know, we're definitely a Mint family. All three of us, Dan, Hope, and I, are on the same plan, and we love it. You can bundle that together, and they'll only send you out one bill.
And that is called the Mint Modern Family Plan, anywhere from 2 to 5 people, one bill. Switching to Mint was unbelievably easy. Both Larry and I used the eSIM card available from Mint. Our son Daniel had Mint send him a free SIM card in the mail. But all three of us were able to switch and set up our new service in about 15 minutes flat.
We all have the $15 a month plan, and no matter what plan that you sign up for, you get unlimited talk and text, access to their 5G nationwide network, and mobile hotspot.
And if you love a great deal, guys, you are seriously in luck. I can't believe Mint Mobile is offering this. Now through January 15th, when you sign up for 3 months of service, you will receive an additional 3 months for free. Here's how it works. See our special link? It's right down there at the bottom of the screen. You're also going to find that link in the description of this video. It'll be all the way at the top of the video description. Click on that link. It's going to take you to Mint Mobile and give you all of the details. This, by the way, is available on all of their plans, including unlimited. Check it out.
Up until now, we've talked about bills that are a fixed amount, but there's a lot of bills that you pay that can vary from month to month. And that would include your natural gas, your electric, your water bill, your sewer bill. So we're going to talk about next how to work these bills down so you're not paying as much.
Now, the unfortunate part about these bills is they are a little bit of an unknown from month to month. But the good part about these bills is the fact that you can view every single month as what we like to call a do-over. So if you're unhappy with the amount that you paid this month, then you get an automatic do-over. There are lots of things that you can do to lower your usage and therefore lower your bill the following month, and you get to try it all over again.
Unlike fixed bills, these tend to be based on usage. So the first thing that you want to do is take a look at your billing and take a look at it closely.
Make sure that you understand what each and every charge on that bill is for. If you see a charge you don't understand, call the company and ask them to explain to you what that charge is for. Because sometimes those extra charges are added and you can actually drop them and still maintain the service.
The next thing you want to do is look at the charges to determine which of those charges are fixed and which are based on usage.
So how many of these charges are based on the fact that you simply have an account? For instance, your water bill will only go so low. You are charged a certain fixed amount by the water company just simply for having a water line hooked up and active in your home. If you're not home for 30 days, you're still going to get a base bill based on the fact that you actually had the water installed and it was available despite the fact that you weren't there to actually use the water. Those are charges that you actually have absolutely no control over them, and you're not going to be able to lower them. However, some of the charges on that same bill will be based on your usage. So you want to go through and ask yourself, which one of these is because I have an account with the company and which of these charges is actually based on my usage. Now, once you know that information, then you're going to be able to take steps to lower that usage. But before we move on to giving you some tips on how to do that, let's take a very specific look at a utility bill, a breakdown of the charges on the average normal utility bill and which charges you can actually have control over and which ones you don't. This example is actually based on our real utility bill. So the first thing you're going to see is delivery charges. Delivery charges take care of things like maintaining the power poles in your area, paying the people that work for the utility company, maintaining the infrastructure. That's what those charges are based on, and that is where the utility company actually makes their profit. There are some charges in there that you're simply not going to be able to lower, but there's actually one or two areas, even of the delivery charges, that you're going to be able to lower by actually using less energy. Now, the part of your utility bill that you actually do have control over are the supply charges. That's, for instance, if you would consider like a gallon of gasoline. There's a certain charge per gallon of gasoline, and the more gallons you buy, the more you pay. Well, these charges on your utility bill are very much like that. They're going to charge you a base amount per kilowatt hour that you use. Therefore, the fewer kilowatt hours of power that you use, then the less those charges are going to be on your bill.
The final part in the utility bill are the taxes. And as you know, we have very little control over that one. Do you have the ability to choose another provider? You know, in our state, we can choose from multiple providers for our electric service.
The good part about this is that your main utility company is generally in charge of collecting all the information from the third-party vendor, and you receive one bill instead of receiving two bills. So that's kind of handy. The other advantage to choosing your own provider is the fact that you can choose a third-party vendor that actually charges you less per kilowatt hour than your main utility provider in your area. However, there are some very interesting disadvantages to doing this that you should be aware of.
For instance, it can be overwhelming to sort through all of the companies to try to figure out which one's going to be the best for you.
The other thing that is very problematic with some of these third-party vendors is the fact that they will do what we call a come on rate, come on over, and then you don't realize when you're signing that contract that 3 months later or 6 months later, that's when their real rate per kilowatt hour kicks in. And if you're not aware of that, then all of a sudden you're going to be faced with a much larger utility bill, and you are already locked into a contract with them.
See if it's possible for you to monitor your online rate as you're going through the month. We have a way of viewing our utility bill on a daily basis. If we just go online and look at our account, we can therefore see what we're doing as we're going through the month.
We are very blessed to have this option in our area. We simply signed up for an online account with our utility company, and then that allows us to monitor in almost real time our usage. It takes about 24 hours or so before the usage for one day is posted on the next day. But what this allows us to do is actually go into our actual account, and let's say we're going to try some things to lower our usage. We can look within 24 to 48 hours to see how effective those strategies are really being for us in lowering the amount of electricity or natural gas that we are using. The other thing that our online account allows us to do is to set limits on our usage. And once we set a limit, then our utility company will shoot us an email or send us a text message if we go over that daily limit that we ourselves have set. It allows us to know instantly whether we're using a little bit more natural gas or electricity than we anticipated that we would be using. Now, the good part about that is it allows us to sort of have that back and forth interaction with our utility company. But the bad part about it is that we do have to go in periodically and change it, because here in Illinois, we are 4 seasons, guys. We experience them all, which means in the winter, we're going to be using a lot more natural gas than we are in the summer. So if I have that limit for natural gas set really low, all of a sudden this summer, I'll start getting like daily emails from the utility company saying, you went over your limit. Well, I needed to go in, I needed to change it to a much higher rate that really reflects what we're using in the winter time. But if you have any opportunity to glean any amount of information from your utility company, do it.
One of the things that I like about this setup is they give you an estimate on how much your next monthly bill is going to be. So you can compare that to the rate that you were paying the year before, or maybe even the month before, to see how you're doing.
You would be amazed at how many times I get that estimated bill. I'm like, well, that's just way too much. Larry, it's time to buckle down. I don't want to see any lights on when somebody walks out of a room. So what it does is it gives us the opportunity, it gives us a real good heads up, and we're able to lower that amount before we actually receive our utility bill, sometimes 15, 18 to 30 days later.
So what if you can't go online and you can't view your utilities the way that we can? Well, save your monthly bills. Put them in a file folder and keep them. And that way you can refer to those. You can look and see what you're doing this year. You can compare it to last year's. You can look at the kilowatt hours. How much power was I using, like, let's say, last December as compared to this December? And then you'll have a kind of a bearing on how you're doing this year.
The good part about this method is, no, you won't be able to compare what you're using from one day to the next, but you will really effectively still be able to compare how much energy you're using from one month to the next, and then go ahead and set up your own charts and make a goal.
It's very important for you to create a goal. Set a fixed amount in mind and shoot for it. You know, if we don't have something to shoot for, we're not going to hit it. So if you create a goal and you're going to lock on to that figure or that amount, you'll work harder at trying to get there.
Just trying to use less is really not going to work, because that is not a specific goal. What you want to do is make sure that you know exactly what the target is and see how close you can come to hitting that target. Now, the example that we used in this section of bills which are based on your usage, we did use our utility bill as the example. But you can take these exact same principles and you can apply them very easily to any bill that you receive every month, which is based on your personal usage.
Although we've talked about bills that arrive in your mailbox about every 30 days, there are some other expenses that you have ongoing every month that you have to deal with. And one of those is food.
Now, if you're interested in learning how we reduced our food costs for a family of 4 to under $300 a month, we actually did a video and we gave you 50 tips and strategies for lowering your grocery costs. That video is right over there.